don't know why they frustrated and all these ailments, and that's because we're not catering to ourselves. We're too busy catering to everything else, not everybody and everybody else except ourselves. So, everybody's frustrated, trying to break out of jail. Need to
Absolutely.
break out of prison.
Yes.
But thank you, Cecilia.
Welcome, Sila. I've missed you. I'm glad you're here today.
I was here. I was just quiet because I had problems with my computer.
Oh yeah, I was reading what you were saying on the chat for some time. I'm glad you got it fixed. That can be
Yeah, I
so
had
hard.
to. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, no,
All
it's
right, you guys. Are we ready to start a group? Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Welcome, John Ughe. John Ughe is our guest today, and he was born into a Christian family in Nigeria. His dad and mom were both Christians. He grew up going to church with his mom, but he admits he didn't truly know God back then. John's Christian journey began as an undergraduate at the University of Benin, where he reconnected with a former neighbor who introduced him to a church. That experience shaped who he is today. Now, John is a believer, and he can confidently say that Christ is his friend and God is his father. He genuinely enjoys the fellowship. Now, this group is for all religions, all spiritualities, but John is very proud of his Christianity, and that's a big part of his story. John Ughe, without further ado, please take it away.
Good everyone. I will start appreciating Dan for giving me this opportunity and everyone too who is actually participating, who is actually have joined today. I actually want to thank everyone for giving me opportunity to speak to us. I think it's an avenue for every one of us to learn, and also avenue for me to share my experience with other participants here, letting you know Africa and how things actually are here in Africa where we reside. Okay, I will say as an individual, my name is John. I actually grew up from a family where my both parents were actually Christians. Like normally, I used to tell many people that following your parents to church actually doesn't make you a Christian. You see, these days we can learn the church language even when we are not Christians. Why? Because your parents are Christians and you grow up following them. But that actually does not make you a Christian. I saw myself in that also in that situation where I followed them to church and we do the church religion and all of them. But with time, I knew that I was not actually a Christian. Why? Because deep inside of me, I realized that no, I'm just following my parents to church, but I'm not actually a Christian. Unfortunately for me enough, I met when I entered school, that was 2009, I met a neighbor who actually introduced me to a church. And that was actually how my religious or my Christian journey actually started fully, where I can say I'm indeed a Christian, where I know what it means to be a Christian. It's not about speaking the Christian language, but knowing deep side of you that indeed you're a Christian, where you can make impact, where you can have a personal relationship with God. And that actually changed my life. Like my 4 years in school, I experienced God Himself. I've been knowing Him as an individual, where I can communicate with Him. When I pray, I know that I'm praying to someone, and that person actually listens to me. There was an experience in 2011. I submitted my results, and there was a little difference between the name I registered when I was doing my clearance in the university and my result, which was my NCE, my SSC result. And I realized that there was a challenge. I have to thank God because if that result is rejected, I won't be able to graduate in 2012. I have to ask God for help. And miraculously, I was screened. And it was a miracle because after praying, it was a Sunday afternoon. a young girl was passing, and she came directly to me and told me, "Your prayer have been answered." And she called my name and told me exactly how I prayed and how the challenges I'm facing and those challenges have been solved. And the next day, which was on Monday, I went to school and I was cleared. I understood that, yeah, God actually answered prayers. And since then, the journey have been wonderful. The journey have been wonderful in my work life and my marriage and all of them. It have been wonderful. What I can tell everyone is that try and know God personally for yourself. And if indeed you know Him, there is a lot of difference in your life. Yes, you may face challenges, but the fact is that when you are facing a challenge and you know that there is someone who is helping you, and you know you are victorious, even when you are facing that challenge, there's more confidence. You have more confidence. You have more confidence. Hosea, when he was facing challenges, but he was so assured that God was with him. Even Moses was assured that God was with him. That was the reason why I didn't give up, even when Pharaoh decided not to allow them go. But he continued. Why? Knowing the fact that if I'm with God, this thing is possible. It's just a message to every one of us that indeed serving God pays. The God I myself is serving, indeed, it pays. I may not have all the billions in this life, but I'm sure of something, that I have someone who can give me more than money. Today, I have more than money. I have a wonderful family. I have sound health. And also, I'm taking care of my beast too. I think that's one thing I know very well. And when I communicate with God, I know that He answers me. And this is the confidence I have. Why? Because I know that God is with me. Not actually man with me, but God is with me. And God has blessed me with a lot of people too. Have blessed me with a lot of wonderful people. I can tell you for sure that it's good serving God. And I will continue to serve until I journey to the other side of the world, which I know one day every one of us will join. But it's very important that we know that God indeed exists. And if you're a Christian, you should hold on to Him. That's the advice I can give everyone. The second part of this discussion this evening will be on, I'm coming from a society where the youth are facing a lot of challenges. Our youth are facing a lot of challenges here in Africa. And that's the reason why I titled this topic Societal Induced Depression. Societal Induced Depression. If I can tell you the kind of situations youth in Africa faces today, there are some part of the world, if they face half of it, sincerely speaking, they won't be able to survive it. They won't be able to survive because there are a lot of things here we see as a privilege in other societies that are right. Even when the government tell you that these things are privilege, but in other societies they are right. That is the reason why I say let's look at this from African perspective. Societal induced depression. We ought to do understand what depression is. When we are overwhelmed with our challenges, when we're overwhelmed with our feelings, when we think that we can't cope again. In Africa today, the youths are actually overwhelmed. I myself, if I don't know Christ today, I will be depressed and I will be overwhelmed. That's the truth I can tell you. If I don't know God today, I will be depressed and I will be what? Overwhelmed. Why? Because these challenges and the situations here, it only take God for you not to be what? Depressed and overwhelmed. That is the sincere truth about it. But the fact is that when you have God, you don't look at challenges. God give you the strength to believe that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And that's what we have been living with. That's my own testimony of the fact that I cannot be depressed. But that does not mean that other people are not depressed. There are also some Christians who are also depressed. Why? Because our faith differs, and the level of which we exercise faith differs too. Because
John?
this religious stuff is actually a faith stuff, and the level of everyone's faith is
Hey, John, what was it
what
like
we believe in.
growing up as a child? Can you hear me, John?
Yes, I can hear you.
What was it like growing up as a child in Nigeria?
Growing up as a child in Nigeria, especially when you are from the less privileged side, it can be actually challenging. It can be challenging a lot when you are growing up from the less privileged child. When I grew up from the village, and in a village setting, you lack all the amenities. I remember that there was a time that when I was in secondary school, I do ride to some village to get water before I can prepare to go to school that day. It means that we had a bicycle that should be around when I was in SS1. That is grade 4. You take your bicycle, you go to the next village to go and fetch water, coming back before using that water to take off the home, then before going to school. It can be challenging because we lack all the necessary amenities. Is it good road? We lack it. Is it pipe-borne water? We lack it. Is it electricity? We don't have. But the fact is that we are still coping and we are still doing our best. But it was actually challenging growing up from a village. In Nigeria here, we can have three facets of the society. You can have the less privileged, you can have the middle the middle families, and you can have maybe the rich. But the fact is that over 70% or 50% of children in Africa actually grow up from the less privileged ones, where you lack almost every necessity of life. That's how challenging it can be. But people actually, with time and with effort and with God, people actually move to the middle class, and from there, if you are fortunate enough, you can actually move to the wealthy class. But it's challenging growing up in Africa when you actually know in Nigeria, it's not the best place to be, knowing the fact that the system of government somehow favor only the aristocrats. They favor mostly the aristocrats. It's like, let me tell you one thing, is that getting a work in Nigeria now, if you want to get a work that you can be comfortable from the government side, you must know someone. If you don't know someone who knows someone, you cannot actually get such a lucrative job. That's the reason why most people live from hand to mouth in Africa. In Nigeria, most people live from hand to mouth. All they earn, they use it to feed their family, and they can't have savings. Why? Because whatever they're earning cannot actually take care of the cost of living. And that's how many children are being trained. That's the kind of families most children grow up from. And that is also the reason why when you see crime in the society, all these things can actually increase the level of crime rate in any society. Why? Because people want to meet up. That is where I will take it to the societal induced depression, where people want to meet up. In 2019, there was actually a burial ceremony that took place in one of the states in Nigeria. And when the youth saw how a particular businessman was actually spraying money, the way the family was spraying money on all of them, I can tell you for sure, after that event, there was increase in crime rates in the society. Everybody wanted to be like that man. Everybody wanted to be like his friends. And the man was on social media spraying money and telling people how wonderful having money can be. And I can tell you, since that time till today that I'm speaking to you, the society have not been the same. Everybody's competing financially, and this have increased the crime rate in our society.
John, is there a food shortage in Nigeria? That's one question about the food shortage in Nigeria. And the second question is, what was it like during the 3 or 4 years of COVID over there?
Okay, let me start with the COVID. The period that we experienced COVID, after the post-COVID year, it was not easy because a lot of people lost their job. A lot of people lost their job, and the level of poverty actually increased. The level of poverty actually increased. Many people were not able to meet up, and even till now,
First of all,
Some people,
thank you, Alex, for acknowledging me.
many people actually lost their job, and that affected many homes. That from the average homes, they actually moved to poverty homes, where they cannot take care of their children again. The banking sector, the school sector, all of them, there was retrenchments in the workforce, and that actually affected a lot of homes. Even to today, we are still experiencing the shock of that COVID year. We are still experiencing the shock. Why? Because a lot of things didn't remain the same. A lot of families didn't remain the same. People even lost their own marriages because of the COVID-19 and the post-COVID-19 era. Many families were not able to meet up again. And that actually also increased the crime rate in our society today. That is the reason, if you ask anyone in Nigeria today, crime rate is actually high because unemployment is high. These things are working hand to hand. It's affecting many youths today. And that is the reason why social media crimes have been very, very high in our society today. Social media crimes have been very, very high. Very, very high. The second question, can you ask me again, sir? Mr. Dan?
Yes, of course, of course. But before I ask you that question again, what is a social media crime in Nigeria?
Yeah, the social media crime, will I put it, let me put it this way. They call it, what is the best word to use now? Online fraud. Online fraud. Yes, in our society today, that level have increased so much. Why? Because there have been a lot of competition among the youths. There have been a lot of competition among the youths. Many people have lost their job, and because of that, the online fraud have increased a lot in our society. And governments are not being able to tackle it because them on their own part are not being able to provide job or even provide skills acquisition centers for the youth to engage themselves. They normally say, the Bible say, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. If the youth don't have what they are doing, definitely the evil will occupy their mind. And that has been the case in our society today, where many youth are into fraud. But there are still some youth who are also doing exceptionally well too, because everybody is not into fraud. Some are still doing in their own acquisition skills, and all of them, they're still doing well. Just that, and that are the social media and economic influence over the youth, where you see people showcasing wealth in the social media, people spraying as showing a lot of wealth in the social media, and these people want to be like them, and it's a major challenge in our society.
So, John, what are the major sources of suffering for the Nigerian people right now?
Can you come again?
Yes, for the Nigerian people, what are the major sources of suffering?
The major sources of suffering is actually unemployment. Every year, the people graduate from school and they don't have job to engage themselves into. And even the ones that actually have skills, there's not enough finance to actually promote their own skills. You have a situation where people leave school, over thousands leave school every year. Like on Friday now, that was day for yesterday, over 45,000 people left the NYC camp. The NYC is the National Youth Service Corps in Nigeria. When you graduate from school, you go through the 1 year compulsory service corps. But the challenge is that after you leave the 1 year service, 1 year national service, you cannot actually fall back to anything. It means that these 45,000 people who have left the NYSC now, which is the National Youth Service Corps, have nowhere to fall back to. And the next 1 year or 6 months again, over the same number will also be released from the National Youth Service. Now the question is, if they don't have where they're going to, what will be the situation of these individuals? And if you say, I want to go to the bank to get money loan, the percentage is very high. And the economic situation in Nigeria has not been stable. It has not been stable. And because of this, people are afraid to borrow money to go into businesses. Why? Because the exchange in dollar and the naira have been, the gap have been so much. And because of that, if we borrow money today, you will end up, if you are not wise enough, you will end up not meeting up to the loan, and that become a challenge to that individual. That is the reason why.
Okay, so without enough money to, without enough money for young people who are graduating college, the jobs, without enough money, people can't afford to eat. Isn't that right? And people can't afford shelter. Isn't that right? And so, do you see that? Do you see if things can be improved? Are things improving there or getting worse?
No, the fact is that things definitely, all hope is not lost. Things can actually get better, but the fact is that it's actually with time. Why? Because I myself, there was a time getting clean water was difficult when I was still in the village. Getting clean water was difficult. I cannot, throughout my early days, I cannot talk of seeing the electricity. But today, now where I'm staying today, I can boast of electricity, I can boast of clean water. But the fact is that may not experience such. Everybody may not experience such. Why? Because some, we are fortunate enough, our parents are able to push us, we're able to graduate from the university, and we move out from our environment to the cities and look for a greener pasture. I can tell you, I remember that last 2 years I went to my village when I was getting married. I saw some of my friends who were also a graduate. Unfortunately, I don't know what have kept them in my village, and these people were still riding motorcycle as a source of living. And when you look at them and look at me, it look as if the my fathers, and these were people who were just early 30s, because of the situation these people as individuals are facing. But the same cannot, there's hope. The fact that when there's life, there's actually hope. That's what I can say.
So, your family moved to the city and now has electricity and good and food and more money. But like, are you concerned about the welfare of all the many people who don't have these advantages?
Yes, for sure. My parents actually did not, my parents are still in the village. It is only me and my twin brother who actually graduated from school that actually moved out from our village and moved to the city. I still go to my village, my parents are still there. But the fact is that I'm concerned about other youths who are still there, because the challenge of them being there is the fact that they are being influenced. A lot of youth are being influenced. Even the ones who are educated who are still there, and the ones that are not educated who are still there, they have been influenced. Why? Because the few that have been able to make it financially are actually influencing them into negative social vices. They're actually influencing them to these negative social vices. Why? Because that they believe that that is the only source of escape or poverty. You see, the fact is that if you have not experienced poverty, you may not understand how it is. But the fact that for those who are experiencing poverty, most, if you don't know Christ, you'll be ready to do anything to escape poverty. That is a sincere truth. Is that the reason why when you see people committing certain crimes, sometimes you have to actually go into the nitty-gritty of the reason why these individuals are committing these crimes. Because without you knowing the reasons, yes, there's not enough reason to commit crime, but I believe that someone who is actually okay have no reason to commit crime. But these individuals sometimes, because of depression, because of lack of hope, and not seeing the anything light coming to them, they may actually end up committing crime. That's the reason to that. I don't blame them. But I can only see what is the best the government can do for the individuals if they can give them skills acquisition and all of them, and even loan to help them.
With all the poverty and the clean water issue, and the very few who are graduating to earn a living, but you still say there's hope. So where's this hope coming from? Tell us about hope.
The hope is that, you see, today I'm a graduate not because my parents are so wealthy. It's because from the little they have, we have been able to push. And fortunately, we are graduates, and by the grace of God, we move out. Me and my twin brother move out from the village, and we're able to get something that we are doing. It may not be paying us much, but the hope is that we serve God and we believe that one day things will be better. There are a lot of things I actually have in mind to achieve in life. Because of I don't have this financial strength, I've not been able to achieve it. I think the first time I discussed with you, I told you that my next move is to have my master's. But because for now I cannot afford it is the reason why I've not done that. But I still have the hope it's possible. And this is the hope everyone is actually having, that one day things may get better for them.
Okay, so you talked about hope for you and your brother and your family, but what about hope from the larger community? Do they have hope too?
Yeah, they definitely have hope too, because if my life get better, I will definitely remember my own people who are still in the village and also help them too. And them too can also help someone too in that village too. It means that hope for one can be hope for all. That if I'm fortunate today to get better in life, I will definitely remember my cousins, my siblings, my other relations who are still in the village, and also help them. Even though it's even training them in school, that can also help them too. And that can also help someone else. And you see, with time, things can actually get better. But the fact is that an individual, there is to an extent that he can do. But if government actually prioritize the welfare of its own masses, I believe things will get better with time.
Has the international community been helpful at all?
Uh, the Nigeria case is actually divided. Why? Because since the case of the Boko Haram in Nigeria, that was early 2007 and 2009 down to 2014 and all of them, we have been in a situation of the concentration being in the north. We are living in the southern part of Nigeria, in the northern side of Nigeria, where the Boko Haram, the insurgency, have been fighting over time. The concentration of the international body have been towards that area in terms of helping those who are in the IDP camp. The word IDP camp actually means internally displaced people. The Some NGOs have been going towards the north to help those individuals who are internally displaced because of the insurgency and all of them. But the fact is that the certain parts of the country, attention are not being that focused towards them because they're not been insurgency, but that poverty are also been ravaging them. That's actually the situation we have in this part. That most NGOs focus on the northern people because of the insurgency, the bombing of their areas and all of them, and the banditry and all of them. But that is the situation.
And you're in the South, right?
Yes, I'm in the south.
Okay. All right, let's open it up to the group. If anyone has any comments or questions for John, please speak up.
My question is to you, Dan. As far as what he's talking about in Nigeria, is it does that sound like something similar that's going on in here in America? I mean, similarities, differences, especially when it comes to the mental health, employment, and obtaining the natural resources that we need, which is, everybody is not getting their natural human needs met to the fullest capacity of which we should be. Does it sound a lot like that? Because he has a very thick accent. So I'm
Yeah,
only picking up on something, and then the tone, it just touches me as a familiar.
I'm sure there are some similarities to our situations, but some of the major things, like I could turn on my water faucet, get some clean water right now. And that's much more of a challenge in Nigeria that we take for granted here. And just hopping over to the supermarket, get some whatever we want, that's another challenge there. And like in village life and the opportunities here, I think are still greater. Aquapay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm on the way out the door, but I was just wondering if he's aware of any initiatives in Nigeria, maybe started by some of the people who are wealthier. Might be interested in helping to partner with something, with some people or a grassroots organization that's maybe providing microloans or helping to do startup um, businesses. So I'm just wondering if John, if you are connected or familiar with any type of business startups that the youth have been interested in, and would you be open to working with people of different faiths? Because people who may not go to church but who may be believers in the Almighty. Are you open to working with people of different faiths?
For sure. I'm not a religious bigot. The fact is that God created everyone, and the only reason why people can know your own religion is when you know them. And we don't force religion of. I can work with anybody.
Okay, so I put my number in the chat, so you can contact me by WhatsApp. I'm on my way out right now, but in the near future, I was looking into doing something like some sort of investment or something, and I have a old coworker from Nigeria who said that microloans might be helpful to people. I'm not sure what your feeling is about that, and looking into some sort of business ventures, and also because I'm interested in helping oppressed people, which I am also of a class who's at like considered it like the lower echelon here in America too, just because of my color, the systemic oppression. But I'm interested in connecting with other people in similar situations, and looking into bartering and trading, even if it's not in American dollars. Like, what can we do to help bring each other up? Like, oppressed people worldwide, really, which I know is a pretty big dream. That's pretty big thinking, but it has to start somewhere. So I put my number. I can give it to you as well. I'm not sure if you can see the chat.
John, if
Okay.
you can't get her number from the chat, I'll email it to you, okay? And I hope
I can't
John, that
actually get her number.
oh, okay.
Okay.
So
So you'll
so
try to get his number
Okay,
to
thank you.
me, to him. You get my number to
yeah,
him,
and
Dan.
I'll give can I give Aquapay your number, John, as well?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, good. So hopefully you two can connect in the future.
Okay. Thank you. Wishing you all the best. Okay. Peace be unto you.
Bye. Gail D, you have your hand raised. Go ahead, Gail.
Oh yes, I was going to ask something about religion too. I just want to know if anti-Semitism is in Nigeria, and if the Trump administration, like international, laws, do they affect Nigeria?
So John, the question is, how do Nigerians, how do Christians, and how do people in Nigeria feel about Jewish people? You're muted, John. I'm gonna ask you to unmute. Go ahead. All right. Oh, there you
The
go.
Christians in Nigeria actually visit. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We Christians in Nigeria, yeah, we don't actually have Muslim. We don't have problem with the Jewish people. Why? Because most our pilgrimage, we go to Israel for our pilgrimage, and some cable network that I actually follow sometimes. I have some Jewish preachers too who actually preach to the cable network. I don't have problem with the Jewish people. Why? Because Christ himself was a Jewish. He was a Jew. Why on earth? I mean, that's one of the foundations of Christianity. Jewish should be one of the foundations of Christianity.
Okay, and the second question from Gail had to do with like the United States and the new administration here with the Trump administration. Has that have any impact on Nigeria?
For now, we can't say the Trump administration have any impact in Nigeria for now, because if the fact is that, how do we know if the government is actually having impact? Is based on policies. For now, we have not seen any policies by the government which is actually having a direct impact on the life of the masses. Because what we see these days is the issue of political parties and interests among the bourgeoisies in government. Not that we are having any government impact for now. We're not having any government impact for now, based on the policies and the agendas have not been favorable to the masses.
Mhm. Go ahead, Helen.
Well, hi everyone. Sorry about the lateness. I did not get any email to connect by link to your group like you did, Dan F. There are old ones, but not up to date. So did you remove me from the email? I did not get anything. Not yesterday, not day before, not today.
Yeah, you have to check spam because
I you know what? Nothing goes to spam. I don't have to check because
oh,
it's not like, something is out of the ordinary. I don't have to check spam. It's just that I am not getting it from you.
your email is heck1232001 at Yahoo, right?
Yeah, but like when do you send it? 3 days before? I don't
No,
know.
I send it on Wednesdays and Saturdays. But okay, is
So
that
can you
all you
make
have
sure
to?
to send
Helen, do you have a
Saturday?
question for John? Do you have a question for John? If not,
Well, no, but I have another question about somebody else in the group that they are here today.
okay. Well, we'll get to that later then. Okay, so Sis Aquape, you have your hand raised. Go ahead. All right. Daniel, do you have a question for John or a comment?
Well, I appreciate you talking about the realities over there, and as Dan Frey said, you can't turn on a water faucet. You have to walk for water, and it could be contamination, and people don't have basics. So I've known about that for a few years because I communicated a few years ago with a Nigerian athlete. He played two sports, and he was well supported as an athlete in those sports. But suddenly, a year ago, the government totally cut off his, salary or whatever you want to call it. So I asked him a lot of questions about that. So it was very unfortunate. They just cut out everything, and the conditions in Nigeria are very difficult. But the question I have, I don't know if I can change the topic, but originally you were going to talk about God, and your journey to God, and I wanted to hear about that a lot because I felt I could identify with that because I came from mixed parentage, Jewish and Catholic, and there was no emphasis on church or synagogue, and all the words I heard were agnostic and atheist. And my sister and father and mother would speak very negatively about God. So coming from that, I had very little faith or not at all. Bringing to the present, I have just joined a Presbyterian church in my neighborhood, even though I'm partly Jewish. This Presbyterian church is a very open-minded, mixed race place with a lot of activity. And one of the reasons I wanted to join was maybe I need to have some faith. Maybe I need to believe in a God. Maybe I need to feel that God has always been with me. But I haven't always felt that way. I have never felt that way because I had a lot of abuse in my early childhood. And my question always was, well, where was God when I was abused for 7 years? I've had a tremendous struggle in life. I have been very much a thriver, not just a survivor. But that journey did not include religion. It did not include God. It did not include Christ. Now I go to church every Sunday and I'm trying to, be genuine there and sing the prayerful songs and pray and give confession, etc. So my journey has been, from nothing to attempting to find God. So that's what I was sort of wanting to hear. Not that the poverty discussion is a waste, it's not. But that's a little bit of my story and why I identified and wanted to be here for your talk about God.
John, do you have a response to Daniel's request?
Yes. What actually I can say is this. You see, the fact is this. We can actually face some challenges in this life, even when we have God with us. Yes, we can face challenges in this life, even when we have God with us. But the confidence we have is that even when we face these challenges, God can actually help us overcome them. And one thing I can say is this: when we don't actually know God for ourselves, there are certain things we can experience as individuals when we don't know God for ourselves. That's like I said from the beginning that when I was following my parents to church, I was not a Christian. And when I became a Christian, when I actually personally know that God is my father and I have a personal relationship with him, our work with God can come with challenges. If you can remember Hosea in the Bible, Hosea actually in the Bible faced challenges even when God was the one leading him to rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. He faced challenges, but the fact is that he was victorious. The challenges didn't overtake him, or the challenges didn't overwhelm him. The fact is that in this journey of Christianity, we walk with God. But the Bible didn't promise us that there will not be challenges at all while we are walking with him. Certain things can happen. God knows only the reason why they happen. But the fact is that we can find solace in God. Moses once lived in a palace where he didn't find anything difficult. Everything was in a rosy for him. He enjoyed the best of life and everything. But the fact is that a time came that Moses had to leave. And in those 40 years, he experienced life. And when he came back for a mission that God actually sent him, it wasn't easy for him. He faced challenges too. But the difference was God was with him. What I can tell my brother is that he experienced such. But now that he have Christ with him, he have God with him, something is assured that he can also find peace. The peace of the Lord will be with him. Even though he has passed a lot of challenges while growing up and all of them, even with all the experiences that he laid down here, but the fact is that he can still find peace. And that peace is only in God, and which he's doing now. And it's not late. That's all I can say.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Cecilia, I saw you nodding your head. Yes. Speak the truth. Go ahead, Cecilia. Unmute first.
Let me unmute. I love what you just said, John. It's amazing the challenges that are put ahead of us. But Daniel, what brought me a lot of solace when it came to those questions, because I myself had a very traumatic childhood, and I just thought, but I was raised Catholic, and I just thought, God, where are you while these things are happening to me? And I once came across a Christian woman who told me that God, he can't interject with free will. So how I've come to understand things in a better light. That's what I heard. John, have you ever heard that?
No, can you repeat? Can you repeat, please?
I said that God can't interject with free will.
No, the fact is this: God allows our free will, but our free will, is it actually the best for us? That is the question we should be asking. Our free will, is it actually the best for us? Now, my free will may be, this is the kind of life I want to live. I want to associate with people. I want to do this. But the fact is that God that knows our life from the beginning down to the end knows that this particular free will may not be my will for you, because along the line, you may not end up successful and peaceful. That is the reason why, if we go on our own free will, it's like you are reading a book. If the writer knows the manual, if I'm using a car, the maker of such car actually have the manual to that car, and the person actually can tell me, this is how to drive this car, and this is how not to drive this car. This is the speed limit of this car. This is not the speed limit of this car. The implication is that if I decide on my own free will, I want to use the car how I want it, it may endanger my own life. Why? Because I'm not using it based on the manual. That's the challenge. God allows to live our free will life. But the challenge is that, what is it going to end you? Where is that free will life taking you to, if the maker is not the one directing your own personal life? That's where the challenge is sometimes.
Yes. And I love how you put that. In the way that I'm saying it is that, God didn't stop my dad from beating me because he couldn't interject with free will. That was my dad who had enforced these
Yes,
things
understand
on.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
fact is
Yeah.
this: God cannot instruct your dad on what to do.
Yeah.
It's actually unfortunate in that situation.
Yeah.
Yes, it may be painful. It's unfortunate. It's painful. It's a painful experience, and which all of us don't wish such. But the fact is that, if you see, the earth is physical, the other realm are spiritual realm. The spirit realm cannot come to the physical to have effect if the physical does not allow the spiritual to have effect its own realm. What am I trying to say in essence is this: if
I think we lost you, John. All right. So John's having some technical challenges.
Yeah.
Daniel, you have your hand
last year,
raised? Oh,
Oh, is he back?
Back.
John, say something. He's in and out. He's in and out, you
Okay.
guys.
Okay,
So,
Dan,
oh, yes.
I want to say something to the because I've been through that too, childhood. I don't childhood abuse and so forth. I think many of us have experienced that. And with the free will to say the person is abusing me in whatever way, that's the free will that they're exerting, the choice that they made. But for the one who's getting abused, it's like a learning experience. This is the way I just calculated. Because sometimes, going through a lot of stuff that I'm going through now, I get these
Celia,
pictures
sorry.
and
It's okay, John. Silas speaking.
and it's
Okay.
intuitive information where they're like flashbacks, because now I get the choice, because the person who's exerting the abuse, karma, and karma is real, and that's the part of the universe, law of the universe, karma. So they'll get their karma, but for me, it's like now I have a choice. Either I'm gonna, because a lot of people who have been abused, they become abusers, and that's a choice because of what I went through. So I'm saying my choice is like, no, I would never do anything to anyone which I went through, and I know how horrific it is or can be. So I would never do that. So now I'm left with a choice. Either I can be an abuser and just get mad and say, God didn't love me and such and such. But instead I said, no, God does love me. I went through these things for a reason. And it's a shame that an adult who's supposed to protect a child would even do something like this. It's on them.
Yeah.
It's on them. So that's their karma. That's their prison sentence.
Yeah.
And this is free will. So, that's what he chose to do. And now whoever suffered, she suffered the consequences behind their behaviors. So I'm like, yeah, what a relief, because I could have been even worse than that person who did to me, what they done to me. I could have been worse, but I said, no, I would never do that. So that's my choice. So my karma is going to be good karma since we made better choices.
Yes, because he can interject with free will, and we can take it as, we could blame God, we could do whatever, but we're going to do the right thing. I myself have broken the generational curse of what's going on,
Yeah.
So I'm going to be famous in my family or not. Maybe it's just going to be a thing where, hey, we were never hit, so we never hit, and whatever else may happen. But it really brought me comfort when she told me that he can, because I used to pray, because I was Catholic. So we prayed a lot. We had these prayers that we recited, and I would tell the priest what's happening to me. And he would tell me to pray, so I prayed. But so for in my young life, in my 10-year-old, vernacular, I couldn't propose any single thought as to why and what and how. But now, as a woman, and a mother myself, and walking with this woman, it just brought me so much comfort. He can't interject with free will. He can't eradicate the murders, the killers, the serial killers, the politicians, what have you. Everybody gets to walk their free life.
Yeah, and and I believe, when we're younger, yeah, we cry and God help me, why are you letting this happen, and stuff like that is like the good karma right there. Once you call on God, that's like your belief right there. You believe, I know there's a God, so I'm praying, I'm crying, God, please help me. Help me. Free will, somewhere along the line, God does intervene because we're still alive.
Yep.
It could have been worse.
Yeah.
We're still alive.
Yeah, I like how you said that. Yeah, we lived through it. That was
Yeah, and the lessons learned, it's like the Walt Disney children and whatnot, because they wasn't chastened, so they was causing all kind of havoc. Now, if they were chastened, maybe they wouldn't have been causing that havoc. And it,
like
became they become a public nuisance, and we could do whatever we want to do. We got free will, but they were hurting people. They was doing a whole lot of stuff.
Walt Disney's.
So if,
You mean the
if
man
God was
Walt
like
Disney?
that with us, we would probably be like them. So there's some chastening there.
Yeah.
All right, we have 3 minutes left.
Well, I wanted to ask a question. You did not ask me to talk.
Oh, well, yes, because your question had nothing to do with John's presentation.
All right, but right now John's presentation, I hope, is over.
Okay, hold on. Let me just exit out of the